Well, defense was optional tonight. Unfortunately, the Mavericks didn't play enough of it to get the win against the Indiana Pacers. We'll break it all down here coming up next year on the DLS Mavs postgame show. What's up, DLS Mavs Nation? It's your man, Kevin Gray, alongside Mavericks analyst Bobby Carella. We are DLS Mavs, your favorite guys covering your favorite team every single game night at Kevin Gray Sports, at Bobby Carella. You can find us on X there. Our Mavericks beat writer Tim Cato and our national NBA insider Marc Stein will be joining us a little bit later on in the show as the Mavericks unfortunately fall at home to the Indiana Pacers 134-127. Outpaced on this night, despite Luka Doncic going for what was 15 assists and 34 points in this game. Defense was optional for the Dallas Mavericks and the Indiana Pacers for that matter. The Mavericks weren't able to get enough stops down the stretch, while the Pacers were able to use what would be a 14-4 run over a 4-minute span in the fourth quarter to be able to put this away against the Dallas Mavericks. The Mavericks falling to what is now 4-3 on the season, 3-2 at the American Airlines Center. Pacers improve to 3-4 and 2-3 away from Indiana. Bobby Carella, as we dissect what happened over the next hour here, the Mavericks simply did not play enough defense. We said it during the pregame show, the race to 130, whoever hit that 130 mark first was going to win tonight's game, and the Pacers were the ones to get there before the Mavericks did.
Yeah, so the Mavs tonight scored 127 points on 50, 40, 80 splits. 50% from the field, 40% from three, 80% from the free throw line. Bringing their all-time record in such games, 127, 50, 40, 80, to 45-2 in their franchise history.
Wow.
The only other time they've lost a game, 127, 50, 40, 80, was the Dame game in the bubble. Dame, I think, had 61 or 62. He hit a jumper at the end of the game that bounced off the heel of the rim like 30 feet in the air and fell through the net. If I'm not mistaken, there was a very controversial call at the end of that game. It was very frustrating. At any rate, we're talking very long odds to lose that game.
Yeah.
But, Kevin, those are only offensive stats. And unfortunately, you do have to play defense if you want to win games this league. And that was just not – I don't think anybody told either team on the floor that factoid tonight.
Yeah, defense was optional tonight. Neither team's defense got off the bus tonight before tonight's game at the AAC. You talked about some of the offensive numbers of the Mavericks for the Indiana Pacers. They shot over 40% from three. They shot a whopping near 57% from the field tonight. In fact, Indiana had what was 76 of their 134 points in the paint tonight. Myles Turner went smooth off for Indiana in this game. He goes for 30 on 10 of 17 from the field, 5 of 8 overall from downtown with 11 rebounds to boot. The Pacers had, let's count them, boys and girls, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 guys in double figures tonight. Tyrese Halliburton had himself a hell of a night as well with 25 points, 12 assists, going 10 of 16 from the field. There was a lot of layup lines. There was a lot of points in the paint. The Mavericks, who did not have Dereck Lively in this game, he was a late scratch with a right shoulder injury. Daniel Gafford got the start, but the Mavericks, Bobby, wound up having to go small in this game quite a bit based off of their lineup. But unfortunately, they were not able to get enough stops, especially when you're looking at guys like Luka Doncic, Kyrie Irving, and others just simply couldn't get it done on the defensive end.
Yeah, before the game we thought, okay, no Lively. So Gafford obviously is going to continue starting, and then they'll probably use Dwight Powell, and if they fall behind early, then they'll go small. Well, they did fall behind early when they were playing big. They fell into a 15-2 hole right out of the gate. Yep. And I cannot, I know they were tied with 3 or 4 minutes left or whatever it was, but I cannot stress enough how destructive it is to your game plan to fall behind 15-2 and then to be down by 8 or 10 points basically for the entirety of the game. But you're not even sweating and you're down 13 on the second night of a back-to-back. Like, that is a very deflating thing, and it also instills confidence in the other team. So, horrendous start for them. Dwight came in relief of Gafford and he did not record a stat, but he was +6. The Mavs went on a little bit of a run, but that was it. He subbed out of the game, did not come back in. It was either small lineup or Gafford at the 5 for the rest of the game. Gafford -12 in his 15 minutes, so that's not great. The team was +5 whenever he was off the floor, but they were +6 with Powell, which means the small lineup was +1, which, hey, that's fine. You're playing him to a draw. But again, you spotted them 13 points. Like, you can't play to a draw. You have to outscore them significantly. And the problem, with going small against a team with a head coach as ruthless as Rick Carlisle is he's going to notice that you're going small, and he's going to call a timeout and tell his guys in the timeout, count the players on their team that want to defend anybody and count the players on their team that are taller than 6'5". And let me know which number is bigger.
Yeah.
And it was just a layup line in the second half. And now the Mavs, I'm not trying to dunk on the team or anything. Like, again, you fell behind by 13 points on the second night of a back-to-back. They had to expend so much energy, 3 or 4 different junctures in the game just to get back into the game. In the fourth quarter, it felt like nobody had anything left in the tank. Like, it felt like they were tired. It didn't like they were smoking layups, airballing threes. Like, this was a tired team. Really, really hard to defend a fast-playing Pacers team. Tyrese Halliburton, TJ McConnell, Ben Mathurin took turns scoring on Luka, on Kyrie, on Spencer Dinwiddie. Those 3 were on the floor all at once, and that is a really, really dangerous proposition for a team's defense whenever you don't have a center. It was literally just, who wants to score a layup right now? I will give you the ball and get out of your way. And Luka, Kyrie, and Dinwiddie were just not up to the challenge. They just were not up to the task. And there was no help behind them. And so that's what happens. And the last time, Kevin, well, how about this? What year or what season do you think was the last time an opponent had at least 76 points in the paint against the Mavs?
What season? Oh, man. I feel like you're trying to set me up for a season that was long ago, but I feel like it couldn't have been that long. I'll go last year.
Oh, that is a good guess. But no. It's 2019.
Oh, okay. I wasn't too far off.
February 8th, 2019 against the Milwaukee Bucks. That was a bit of a lost season for the Mavs. Now I'm scrolling back as far as NBA.com's database goes, and if my sorting is not mistaken, I'm all the way back in the mid-2000s, and team hasn't even scored 70.
Jeez.
So this was a historically bad paint protection game from the Mavs. So at least, we had to stay up till like 4 a.m. to watch this game. At least we got to see some history.
I said last year because I felt like it happened against the Pacers when they got drubbed by 17, at the AAC in March of last year. It felt a lot like that in this game in terms of the amount of easy buckets that the Pacers were able to get. And yes, I saw the comment from John in the chat in terms of the slow starts killing this team over and over again. Speaking to Bobby's point about the way that the Mavericks started this game, as he mentioned, got down 15-2 to start off this game, had to work their way back constantly throughout the course of this game, were able to do so, had tied it at 116 after a Spencer Dinwiddie bucket with 5:47 left in the fourth quarter. But from there, the Pacers simply took over. Bennedict Mathurin hit some nice shots down the stretch. Tyrese Halliburton. Offensively, the Pacers continue to push the pace. And we talked about this when this team for the Mavericks coming into the year, 5th oldest team in the league, a Pacers team that likes to push pace, that likes to push tempo. They kind of lull you into playing their style of basketball, and the Mavericks got caught in a track meet, and you simply couldn't do that, especially when you were shorthanded without Dereck Lively. The Pacers were able to dictate the pace and tempo of this game, and they continue that throughout 4 quarters tonight, and the Mavericks were playing catch-up with them throughout the entirety of the game and eventually ran out of gas in the last 5 minutes of the game here.
Yeah, the Pacers did outscore them 26-15 in fast break points, and 26 is a lot. That's a lot of fast break points, especially because the Mavs only committed 8 turnovers, and there were only 5 steals. So, like, the Pacers were scoring off rebounds, and off out of bounds plays.
They only had 2 second chance points tonight.
Yeah.
2.
They were every single point they scored was like an honest to goodness basketball point.
Yes.
But like there were so many examples of like what is going on. So there's 5 seconds left in the half. Pacers inbound. The Mavs, Pacers coming down the floor in transition. Mavs take a foul on Halliburton at midcourt. Pacers inbound the ball to Halliburton with 5 seconds left, and he gets a layup out of it. It's like, that's the kind of stuff that just kills you, dude. Like, that kills you. And there were so many of those just very simple breakdowns. The fourth quarter was full of one dribble or like no basketball move blow-bys where a guy just is, I'm Luka and I'm guarding you, Ben Mathurin, and Ben Mathurin just like takes a dribble and Luka disappears.
Yeah.
Or Tyrese Halliburton makes Kyrie disappear. Or TJ McConnell makes Spencer Dinwiddie disappear without even doing anything. And like that's just so destructive. And I did finish my search. NBA.com goes all the way back to 96, 97. That is nearly 30 years of basketball, Kevin. And that Bucks game is the only game with more than 76 opponent points in the paint for the Mavs.
Good gracious.
So that was an all-time layup line that we saw tonight. And it just sucks. It sucks. Like, it sucks. So many, like, all the good vibes after that Orlando game. Offense really did have it going tonight. Team shot well. Luka ended up, with 37%, so that's not that good. But he and Kyrie combined for 61. Clay hit some shots. Like, there was a lot to feel good about offensively. Unfortunately,
the defense wasn't good enough.
Yeah, unfortunately, that's not all that basketball is about.
Exactly. I mean, you go like at the second quarter, the Mavericks were down 63-59 at halftime. In that second quarter, they were really able to get back into the game. They shot 50% from three, going 6 of 12 from downtown. The Pacers only went 1 of 10 from three in that second quarter. In fact, for the Mavericks, they had 5 different guys knock down a three-pointer in that second quarter when it was Clay. Kyrie hit a couple of them. Luka, Spencer Dinwiddie, Naji Marshall, who we'll get to in the next segment, who was spectacular tonight, really was able to get them going as well. So you felt like going into halftime, you were able to bounce back from what was a bad first quarter. You knocked down some nice open shots from three. You were able to get yourself within 4 going into halftime. You felt like, okay, they've got themselves close. They were able to pick it up where they needed to. So let's go into the second half and really be able to start put things together. They simply weren't able to get the kinds of stops that they needed to, especially in the fourth quarter. But I thought that second quarter, they showed a lot of fight to get themselves back into this game, because it felt like for a while that the Pacers could potentially run away and hide in this game based off the way they were playing offensively, especially in that first quarter there.
Yeah, and again, that's why starting in a 15-2 hole is so bad, because just to make it a tie game, you feel like, oh my God, we did it. Like, there's like a relief and there's sort of this let up, and you have to try so hard to get back into it. And they did that 3 or 4 different times in the game. They fell behind by 15, and then they fell behind by 9, and then they fell behind by 7, then they fell behind by 10. And like, every time you try and even it, it takes a little bit more, because you're not getting many easy shots. You're not getting a lot of runouts. You're not forcing a lot of turnovers. Like, you're having to earn everything. And the way the Pacers defend Luka and Kyrie, I talked about it before the game. Generally the Pacers want to make Luka and Kyrie score. Now, Luka in this game had 15 assists, which is his most against the Pacers against a Rick-coached Pacers team. But dude, how many times did he have his man beat and he jumped and just couldn't get any lift, and he's hanging in midair and he's like, I'm just gonna throw it to someone. There was just a lot of grinding possessions. Yeah, and in the second half, every possession was down to the final 2 or 3 seconds of the shot clock. Like, nothing came easy for them. And then you look up in the fourth quarter, Kyrie played all 12 minutes, Clay all 12 minutes, Luka 11-11. And by the end of the game, their jumpers, they had nothing left. Luka was gassed for the final 6 minutes of this game. And the Pacers are going at him every single time down the floor. So in the first half, yeah, it was cool that they were able to get back in the game. But Quentin Grimes, man, he played 10 minutes. Where were Luka played 42.
They could have used some of Grimes' defense.
Yeah, Kyrie played 40 minutes. I just would have liked to see some other guys get some minutes, so that in the second half there'd maybe be a little bit fresher legs. But it's also one game. It's one loss. Pacers become the Celtics whenever they play the Mavs, so I'm not too worried about it. There's just a lot to be annoyed about tonight.
Yeah, their third straight win against the Dallas Mavericks for the Indiana Pacers after the 134-127 win on the road tonight at the American Airlines Center. Coming up next here on the DLS Mavs postgame show, the turning point in this game, and one Maverick who had a career night tonight in a Mavericks uniform to really keep them in this game. All that and more coming up next here on the DLS Mavs postgame show. But first, let me talk to you about Z-Biotics. I have to tell you about this game-changing product I used before a night out with drinks. It's called pre-alcohol. Z-Biotics Pre-alcohol probiotic drink is the world's first genetically engineered probiotic invented by PhD scientists to tackle rough mornings after drinking. Here's how it works. When you drink, alcohol gets converted into a toxic byproduct in the gut. It's this byproduct, not dehydration, that's to blame for your rough next day. Pre-alcohol produces an enzyme to break this byproduct down. Just remember to make Z-Biotics your first drink of the night. Drink responsibly and you'll feel your best tomorrow. Every time I have pre-alcohol before drinks, I'm able to get up the next morning and feel great, be able to go out and run those errands, take care of business, because I was able to take care of myself with the Z-Biotics before drinks the night before. I kept hearing about pre-alcohol and wondered what it was like. Now that I've actually tried it, I believe the hype for sure. And with the GMO technology, they will release different products that help address toxic byproducts of modern living in the gut. So go to zbiotics.com, use code DLLSMAVS to learn more and get 15% off your first order when you use code DLLSMAVS at checkout. Z-Biotics is back with a 100% money-back guarantee. So if you're unsatisfied for any reason, they'll refund your money, no questions asked. Check out zbiotics.com today.
Tanner, when the Pacers made their 47th straight layup in the fourth quarter, I fell to my knees. And when I did, luckily, my knees hit our flooring from Empire Today. In the studio with Empire Today, you get shop at home convenience, the right product for your needs, quick and professional installation, and a low price guarantee. They have a virtual floor designer. It's a great way to see how your new floors will look in any space, including your studio. It's easy. Just snap a picture and instantly see how new floors will look in your room with your lighting, with your decor, in your home, and you can wear sweatpants while you're doing the whole thing. You don't got to go to a box store, get ripped off by some grifter. No, you can do it all from your own home. And if you do order a floor and, hey, something happens that's kind of weird and kind of funky, don't worry. They service their own warranties. If an issue does arise, just call Empire. They service everything themselves. You won't have to track down a manufacturer's number, do any of that stuff. Schedule a free no estimate today. All listeners can receive a $350 off discount. And they use promo code DLLS. Restrictions apply. See EmpireToday.com/DLLS for details.
The Mavericks turning point in this game as they fall to the Indiana Pacers 134-127. A little bit later on in the show, Tim Cato will have Cato's Corner live from the American Airlines Center as he'll join the program. And then we'll dial up the Stein line also later on in our show with our national NBA insider, Marc Stein, as he is live at the American Airlines Center to get his thoughts on how tonight's game went down. But the Mavericks unfortunately fall after winning last night against the Orlando Magic. Defense was not available tonight really for either team, but the Pacers were able to get to that 130 mark before the Mavericks did to win this game by 7. Let's take a look at how this game turned around, Bobby, especially for the Mavericks in that fourth quarter in the wrong way. We mentioned it a little bit earlier. The Mavericks were able to tie the game at 116 with 5:47 left after a Spencer Dinwiddie bucket, and you felt like they got to a baseline in that fourth quarter to really be able to make a run to maybe be able to win this game. But Bobby, the Pacers were simply too much, going on what was a 14-4 run over the next 4 minutes to take what would be a 10-point lead at 130-120. And unfortunately, the defense for the Mavericks just simply did not come to play in that crucial 4-minute stretch there.
Kevin, what do you think the Pacers shot from 2 in the fourth quarter?
From 2,
I'll tell you, they took 22 pointers. How many do you think they made?
17 of them.
Oh, that's really close. They made 16 of them.
Jeez.
They were 16 of 20. That is 80% on twos. Now, they had only 14 of those were made in the paint. So they only had 28 points in the paint in the fourth quarter. They were 14 of 17 on field goal attempts in the paint. So if you think about it, it wasn't really that bad. It could have been worse. They could have been 17 of 17.
It could have been worse.
But like, whenever you're trying to win a game, you have to get stops.
Yeah.
Like you have to get stops. The Mavs got enough stops and hit enough threes to get back in the game, but you have to get more stops to close it out. They went I think they were small down the stretch. Gafford came in for 2 minutes like earlier in the fourth quarter, then subbed out, and they were small, and the Pacers smelled blood. And again, we'd said in the first segment, like, Indy was ruthlessly going at Luka and Kyrie and Dinwiddie, and that's why, I don't like playing all three of them at the same time, whether that's Grimes or Clay played the entire fourth quarter, but like more Naji, more PJ, or more Grimes, or just more anyone. It's really, really hard whenever you have three players that the opponents feel good going at, and Luka and Kyrie, whenever they lock in, we saw the Mavs went to the finals last year, so it's not like they're awful defenders or anything, but like they're exhausted.
Yeah.
They've been sprinting their butts off for 42 minutes. It's really, really hard to stop Tyrese Halliburton and Ben Mathurin and Myles Turner. Like, it's just hard to do that whenever you can't even catch your breath. So it would have been sick to see some better defenders out there, but it is what it is. This is good data for moving forward. It's a real shame that Lively couldn't play in this game, because I feel like Lively would have been able to do a better job corralling Myles Turner than whatever the Mavs are trying to do tonight. And I also feel like in situations when Lively could have or would have been switched off onto Halliburton or Mathurin or TJ McConnell, he's demonstrated this year he does have the agility to keep up with those guys without fouling.
Got good length to be able to contain him as well.
Yeah, and that is the sort of thing, that could put the Mavs in a position to be successful. So it's a huge bummer that he was out tonight. But yeah, I mean, in between losing Myles Turner, like forgetting that he existed for the first 3 quarters of the game, to not being able to stay in front of anybody in the fourth, it was just a bummer, just a big bummer. Just the whole thing was a bummer.
Well, you know who wasn't a bummer tonight? Naji Marshall came to play tonight for the Dallas Mavericks. You look at what he was able to do, had his best game by far in a Mavericks uniform. Naji Marshall tonight, you look at the numbers, goes 8 of 9 from the field, 2 of 2 from downtown, 20 points, 6 assists, 5 rebounds. He did a little bit of everything, and really in that first half kept the Mavericks in it, because if they didn't get what they got from Marshall in that first half, this would have been a rout in the first half. But Naji Marshall on both ends of the floor, but especially offensively, showing the variety of the game, knocking down his first ever 3-pointer as a Dallas Mavericks in tonight's game as well. He was able to show a little bit of versatility, taking guys off the dribble, floaters in transition. Like, he did a lot offensively to show what he's got when it came to this particular game. And we can talk a little bit more about that with our guy, Tim Cato, who's joining us live right now from the American Airlines Center. As well as, Tim, we were just talking about to get into the game that Naji Marshall had. We talked about him being an X factor in this game. He showed up in a big way tonight and was a real bright spot for this Mavericks in what was a loss for them against the Pacers tonight.
Yeah, he was just his best performance so far this season, and definitely one of the standouts. Hang on, those were very generic things I just said. I can be more specific than that.
Tim,
I was what? Don't do me like that, Bobby.
Lock in.
I will say, I went on a whole rant in the pregame show about how he's not the small ball center if PJ Washington is out there. And Jason Kidd goes out and deploys a, let me see, Luka, Kyrie, Clay, Spencer Dinwiddie, and Naji. I will concede that in that lineup, Naji is the center, although really, if we're being quite honest, Luka was kind of the center in those lineups. I think that the Dereck Lively injury, and Jason Kidd said that he's going to get an MRI on it tomorrow just to check it out. He said he did not indicate that was a sign that it was severe or a sign that it wasn't severe. He just said that they're going to get an injury, an MRI on it tomorrow. But I think this team wins with Lively out there, and that's pretty unfortunate. It's also a situation where you would like the team to have enough depth and have enough ability to, figure it out and still manage to win it somehow in this situation. I'm more willing, given Lively's absence, given the second night of a back-to-back, to just explain it away as a bad matchup. But there are still some obvious frustrations, contained in that game, including another slow start and including, some, just the defense being okay, or like some players, the defense was not okay. Some players providing okay defense, but overall just not enough perimeter people who are going to stand out and pop.
I want to give Naji a little bit more of a shout out. 8 of 9. Hey,
yeah,
that's
sorry,
awesome.
Those are free flowing thoughts overall. Let's focus. Let's stay locked in.
The Mavs bench tonight, how about 14 of 18 as a bench?
Yeah,
in this league. In some of their other losses, or I guess their other 2 losses this season, we've been like, man, could anyone off the bench score at all? That would be really cool if they could. And then tonight, the bench is great.
If Spencer plays any kind of lick of defense tonight to go along with some of the scoring they hit, like, you may have been able to handle yourself a little bit better down the stretch.
Yeah, but Naji changed the game.
Yes.
Right? He changed the game. 20 points off the bench, 6 assists, 5 rebounds. Here are the last 5 guys in Mavs history before Naji Marshall to come in off the bench and go for 25 and 5. All right. Christian Wood, JJ Barea, Chandler Parsons. How about Vince Carter and Darren Collison? What a list, right?
When was
Hall of
Chandler
Famer Vince
Parsons ever
Carter.
coming off the bench?
December 26,
Must've been an injury
2015 in a
situation?
118-111 win against the Chicago Bulls.
Really?
He played
Okay.
36 minutes.
Okay.
I don't know. Must have been some Rick thing.
He had posted too many shirtless selfies,
Yeah.
so Rick had to teach him some hard love.
I mean, honestly, I think that was around the time when that was an issue. But yeah, I can't legally comment on
pretty
that
much.
situation.
Oh, okay. I was like, do you got more to say here? Like, what's going on here?
So the one thing, the other big picture observation I have is just that, look, the defense was atrocious. I don't think the Mavs defense is ever going to be amazing against a team like Indiana, both schematically because of Myles Turner and the 5-out offense, but also situationally because there is no Dereck Lively out there.
Yeah, Tim, not to cut you off, but has there ever been, because this Myles Turner thing is like, this is a real thorn in my side. Has there ever been any quotes given about why that guy turns into, a Super Saiyan going up against the Mavs? Like, is this like Gafford really was losing him? The Mavs in general, I'm not picking on him specifically, although he was the only center that played any meaningful minutes tonight, and he was just letting Turner take a bunch of open jumpers. But the Mavs generally struggle against stretch fives. That was a thing that gave me a big cause for concern going into the series against the Wolves and against the Thunder in the playoff run. And the Mavs were able to survive that. But what's the deal, man? Why can't they guard Myles Turner?
I will say Luka's very aware that he's from Dallas. And so to me, if I had to guess why he might know he's from Dallas, it's because Luka is also asking these same questions about, like, why does this guy keep doing this every time against us? And somebody was like, well, he's from Dallas. And then Luka, that just kind of stuck in his brain.
That's a lame sports truism nonsense, because he does the same thing in Indiana.
That's true. So I don't have a full explanation for you. I still think that if the Dallas offense is as good as we think it can be, I think that the Dallas offense could have won this game. And there's still a few areas where they are not performing quite to the level that we think they might be able to. I think that PJ Washington's inability to provide any type of offensive threat right now is
a tough one.
And he's quite good. He is a good defender. He has been probably the Mavs' best perimeter defender. He's still not a great defender. He is a good defender though, and it's just he's got to provide something on the offensive end. I hate to when he's one of the few guys who is out there trying to play any defense. Sometimes it feels harsh to critique him too much in a game where Dallas allowed 126 points per 100 possessions. But
yeah, because he had a few blocks in this game. But I mean, you softened the blow, because I was going to go in on the whole PJ knocking down three pointers in the corner. I can't even talk right because I'm so upset. Like him smoking corner threes, like that's got to stop. There is too many corner threes that he's going to get, and teams are going to continue to leave him open until he can prove that he can knock down shots when it's not against Oklahoma City. Like he's got to knock down these opportunities to keep defenses honest. Otherwise, teams are just going to leave him out there and say, we're going to dare you to knock down the shot because we don't think that you can do it. And so far, unfortunately, he continues to prove these teams right with his inability to knock down that shot consistently for this team.
The other big thing is that, Luka's touch around the rim isn't quite there. He acknowledged that in his post-game presser that, he said, don't worry, it's going to get there. And I absolutely believe him. I mean, he's Luka Doncic. Of course it's going to get there. But until it fully gets back there, and Jason Kidd acknowledged there's some other players who, smoke stuff at the rim, which is definitely true. But Dallas, to get, teams are glued to Klay Thompson, and teams are glued to the rollman. The way that you get a team out of that, and I was talking to PJ before the game, in fact, and he's convinced that it's a matter of time until the offense starts performing at a level that they're going to force doubles back at Luka again. I know, Bobby, you've shared similar stats, but only five pick and rolls that opponents have blitzed against Luka this entire season so far. all of that said, Dallas has to punish that at the rim. They have to outscore in the paint at the rim. You know, for Luka in his case, it's going to be sometimes that he's got to just be automatic at those 5 to 7 foot floaters, and he's not quite there yet. And I think when he gets there, there is another half step up for this offense, even after a performance like tonight, that I think they can reach. Maybe not every night, of course, not every night, and you're not going to play Indiana every night, but I do think that the offense is capable of that. No, it wasn't the primary issue against Indiana per se. Obviously, the defense was worse tonight, but when you don't have Dereck Lively, I think you just have to be very pragmatic. What is the way to win this game? That's the course that Jason Kidd chose. He chose to play 26 minutes of small ball, thinking that maybe the offense could outpower Indiana, even though Indiana is also one of the best offenses in the league, and it couldn't quite get that done. So, yes, I know it feels a little skewed for me to be focusing in on the offense here, and I just think that there's a little bit more that we're going to still see from them here in the coming weeks, I would presume.
Let's take our next break here on the DLLS Mavs postgame show. More with Tim Cato live at the American Airlines Center, and a little bit later on in our show, Marc Stein will be joining us live from the AAC as well. All that and more coming up next here on the DLLS Mavs postgame show. But before we get there, let me talk to you a little bit about Sleeper. I got some ball knowers on set with me. I'm calling all ball knowers as well when it comes to the Sleeper app that you know for hosting the best fantasy football leagues in the game. Now allows you to put your knowledge to the test in every game by picking whether your favorite or least favorite players will have more or less in their projected stats each week. It was fun watching Bobby get highly upset because Baker Mayfield was out here cooking the Kansas City Chiefs. But the Chiefs prevailed in the end because Kareem Hunt went smooth off with the game-winning touchdown. If you have more for Kareem Hunt in terms of his touchdown total, you probably won yourself a little bit of money on the Sleeper app. I'm like, Bobby,
don't want to talk about that either
tonight. With Sleeper, the more picks you can buy, the more you can win, all the way up to 100 times your money, unless you're Bobby tonight. If you think you have what it takes, download the Sleeper app and use code DLLSMavs to get up to a $100 match on your first deposit. Terms and conditions do apply. See Sleeper's terms of use for details. Currently operational in over 25 states. Check out Sleeper today, Bobby.
Kevin, we're driven by the search for better, but when it comes to hiring guys that can guard stretch fives, the best way to search for a candidate isn't to search at all. Don't search, match with Indeed. If you need to hire, you need Indeed. Indeed is your matching and hiring platform with over 350 million global monthly visitors, according to Indeed data, and a matching engine that helps you find quality candidates fast. Ditch the busy work. Use Indeed for scheduling, screening, and messaging so you can connect with candidates faster. And Indeed doesn't just help you hire faster. 93% of employers agree Indeed delivers the highest quality matches compared to other job sites, according to a recent Indeed survey. Leveraging over 140 million qualifications and preferences every day, Indeed's matching engine is constantly learning from your preferences, so the more you use Indeed, the better it gets. That's AI, baby. And listeners of this show will get a $75 sponsored job credit to get your jobs more visibility at Indeed.com/AllCity. Just go to Indeed.com/AllCity right now and support our show by saying you heard about Indeed on this podcast. Indeed.com/AllCity. Terms addition. Wow. Conditions apply.
Right. Conditions.
Need to hire? You need Indeed.
Indeed, you do. As we bring back in our Mavericks beat writer Tim Cato live at the American Airlines Center after the Mavericks fall 134 to 127. The Indiana Pacers improved to 3-4 on the season, while the Mavericks dropped to 4-3, 3-2 so far in 5 games at the American Airlines Center as they continue their 5-game homestand that will resume on Wednesday. Of course, all 30 teams off tomorrow when it comes to Election Day. And by the way, don't forget, AllDLLS.com, become a diehard member. $4 off $4 a month. $4 a month exclusive. Make sure you get in.
Oh, dude, well, we can't do the diehard read right now. We just did a read, but it literally stops in 10 minutes. So go do that.
Go do that as quick as you can. Become a diehard member here at AllDLLS.com.
Link in the scripty.
$4 a month to become a diehard member here at DLLS Sports. Unfortunately, the Mavericks watched a former member of their organization beat them for the 3rd straight time. Rick Carlisle and his Indiana Pacers taking out the Mavericks in what was a defensive optional game for both teams, Tim, between the Mavericks and the Pacers. We've talked about how well Naji Marshall played in this game and some of the things that we didn't like what we saw offensively from the Mavericks. What stood out to you that maybe is a positive from tonight's game, given how high flying the score was? We talked about during the pregame show, the race to 130. The Pacers get there first, but there were a lot of good things, at least offensively, from the Mavericks at times that we saw in this game against Indiana.
Yeah, Naji, we talked about him. That's obviously a positive. Luka, one thing I asked Jason Kidd after the game was, and this is when, so he had brought up the fact that there were a lot of misses near the rim. And so I asked if the process was better, not the results. He acknowledged the results are not where they need to be, not where the team expects them to be. It's not really like a, run extra laps or suicides at practice tomorrow. Shots are just not going down. I don't think it's a focus or a effort thing. For Luka, this is one area where I do buy the preseason and the lack of, competitive basketball for 4 months. His touch just isn't quite there. But what I asked Jason Kidd is the process better? And Jason said he thought it was, that he thought the past couple games especially, that Dallas has been making much more of an effort to get to the paint, to get to the floater zone. And those shots were fall, but that's what Dallas needs to be doing. That's just the way that they're taking their shots, the areas that they're getting to is much more productive than what the team had been doing for the first 4 or 5 games.
Luka, real quick, his touch, Tim, that you've been talking about this season, I think this includes tonight's game, but I'm not totally positive on that.
The website you're using usually takes about 30 to 45 minutes to update. So
yeah, so like we're fringe. We're like cusp. We're cuspnba.com. 17 of 24 in the restricted area, which, hey, that's pretty good. That's 71%. But in the paint, non-restricted area, 18 of 44.
Yikes.
And less than 8 feet. So the restricted area is like 3 to 4-ish feet. Luka's 17 of 24 in there. But less than 8 feet, he is 25 of 45, which means shots that are within 8 feet that are not layups, he is 8 of 21 on, which is way below his standards. I mean, normally he is unreasonably good at those shots. Like his little floaters, his little hooks, his little like runners, those always go in. But an example tonight that really let me know, like, man, this guy's just not feeling it or whatever. Like the touch is just not there. He gets fouled on this play from the left side, goes up for a layup, clangs it off the backboard and misses, and then goes 0 of 2 from the free throw line. You're like, man, that could have been a 3-point play, and instead it's a 0-point play. And it just I thought that was a really good example of he's still going through it to a degree in a game where he scored 34.
In a game where he scored 34 points. Another positive I'll say for me offensively, I know defensively wasn't necessarily great tonight at times in this game, but Spencer Dinwiddie off the bench tonight in 23 minutes goes 6 of 8 from the field, 2 of 3 from downtown, has 14 points in this game, really gave you a lift off the bench offensively and continue for the Mavericks to keep them in this game as well. We mentioned his bucket was able to tie it at 116, with about a little over 5 minutes left to go in the game. Obviously, the Mavericks ran out of gas, but I thought Spencer Dinwiddie offensively was able to knock down some big shots for this team as well and really provide them some nice bench scoring.
I just completed a stat pull that is going to take us back to Luka for 1 second, if that's allowed.
No, it is not, but go ahead.
Okay, well, it seems like it is allowed. So when you think of Luka in the paint, I mean, you think of him anywhere on the court, but especially his touch around the rim, in the paint, in the restricted area, he is like godly at this stuff. And there's one proprietary stat that you can look up that basically grades or gauges what you should shoot on such shots. It kind of looks at where you are on the court, where the defenders are, how you're shooting it, all that stuff. And it spits out, it's a lot like expected goals in soccer for anybody who knows that stat. It's kind of does the same thing for the shots you actually take. And so when you sort by Luka in the just shots in the paint or directly at the rim, 2 seasons ago, he shot about 15% better than the average player would on the same shot diet. Last season, he was about 12% better on those same shots in that same area, basically, anywhere inside of 10 feet of the rim. This season, he is 1% better. The touch just isn't there. And look, you didn't need those stats to know that for sure, but the stats also confirm that like everything that we're saying about this eye test, about that being, just a thing that's slightly off, and Luka's saying it's a thing that is going to get right and it's going to be fine. That's the evidence, that's the numbers behind it. So yeah, that's what I had. You wanted me to talk about Spencer Dinwiddie?
Well, I was going to say real quick to that, because I wanted to see if you guys felt the same way when it comes to Luka. When we're watching these opening games for him, a lot of the ways it feels like he's trying to get himself in the rhythm early on is taking these mid-range jumpers at the elbow for some reason. Like, I'm used to Luka getting himself going downhill early, forcing the issue, trying to get some easy buckets at the rim. But it feels like the way that he's starting these games, he's trying to get his legs under him with his mid-range jump shot. Have you guys noticed that when it comes to the way that he's trying to get his offense started in some of these games so far this year?
I mean, he was 2 for 7 on twos in the first half. His mid-range shot this year has not been as good as it was last year. On long twos, before last game, he was in like the high 20s or low 30s. I think he might be a little higher than that now. But, yeah, I mean, this is not – he scored 34 points and had 15 assists.
But I mean, this is the standard of greatness.
Luka Doncic. Like,
this is the standard of greatness that we're holding it to.
It's like insane to be saying this, but like, this guy who is averaging 30 points a game and like just again he had 15 assists in this game. He had a bad game by his standards. Like, this is really weird to say it, but it is true. There's just, I mean, it's not something missing. He was 9 of 24. Like, he shot the ball very poorly, and he was 5 of 14 on twos. That's bad. Like, 5 of 14 on twos is bad.
But he got to the free throw line a ton tonight.
Yeah, he got to the free throw line a lot. That's really good. But like 5 of 14 is bad. Like he's normally not like this. He's normally better.
And
than
it's not
this.
really
It's
criticism.
Really
like, yes, on its face, yes, we are saying that this is not as good as Luka can be. But really, it's analysis of why the team looks a little sloppy, a little bit less than the sum of their parts. It's why they've struggled. It's why we've seen them seen them struggle. It's why the offense feels a little clunky right now. And it's also because we all believe on the show, just like Luka Doncic himself does, that it's going to improve. It is really it's a sign of optimism that this team has, won 4 of 7 and quite possibly could have won 5 of 7 if Dereck Lively hadn't been the very late scratch that he was. And there's still room for improvement based off what this team is doing.
I mean, I guess that's some silver lining to take with you, is the idea that even with some of these offensive struggles as Luka's having in certain parts of the floor and certain shots that he's taking, there's still a lot of obviously season left. But for him specifically, once that continues to improve, the offense we feel like is going to take off. And if you're going to get these performances like a Naji Marshall, Klay Thompson shooting the ball well to start off the season, and obviously if PJ Washington can start knocking down some of those open opportunities, from the three-point line, there's still another gear that this offense can get to. And I think we all are waiting to see them start to get closer and closer to that gear to give us confidence that by the time that they hit it, this team could really be a really, really good offensive team that could give teams problems night in and night out.
I hope so.
It's a meme Mario.
What?
It's a meme Mario in the comments says Dallas needs an offensive system where it isn't heavily dependent on Luka. And I agree, that sounds awesome. I'm not sure that's possible with Luka, because Luka is so much of an offensive system that when he's himself and he's going to be himself, it doesn't really make sense to not put the ball in his hands that much.
Yeah, I agree. Someone, I forget who, I'm sorry, but someone tweeted me during the game, during the first quarter. I said Klay only has 1 shot and not a lot of touches, and that's been a trend for him over the last few games. And someone said kid needs to run more stuff to get Klay looks early, and I didn't respond because whatever, it's like weird thing to tweet, and also I don't like tweeting. Twitter sucks. Don't have one, but it's not a kid thing. Like, the reason the Mavs don't run actions for Klay when Luka's on the floor is because it's really hard to run set plays with Luka outside of like pick and rolls. It's just really, really hard to do. He's a player that plays at a very unique speed with a lot of herky jerk and start and stop. It's hard to have choreographed, synchronized stuff going on whenever he's out there. That's not a criticism. It's just like, it's the truth. The Mavs run a lot more creative sets out of timeouts or with Kyrie running the show, because it's a lot more predictable. It's a lot more controlled. than this sort of like flowing nature of an open court basketball game. And so, it kind of is like it's not even the downside. It's just like the apparent nature of it.
Yeah.
When Luka's on your team, like you were running the Luka offense. Like that just
he is the
what it
system. Luka is the system.
And that's a good thing.
Yeah.
He is the single best shot creator of all time.
Yeah.
Like he's one of the best scorers ever too. Like he is one of the 10 best offensive players in the history of the league. But it means whenever he shoots it poorly, your offense is going to kind of look gross sometimes.
Tim, appreciate the insights as always, my guy. From the American Airlines Center, make sure you follow Tim on X at Tim_Cato. He's, of course, our beat writer here. For
bad website. You don't have to do that.
You said what?
I'm with Bobby on this one. I said bad website. I was. Kevin asked people to follow me on Twitter.
Oh, I thought you were talking about alldls.com.
No.
I was going to say that's a great website.
No, we're talking about Twitter. Our website's great.
Yes, that is great. In fact, we're going to talk about it here as soon as we let you go. So we'll talk to you later.
Bye Tim.
See you later, Tim. Let's take our final break here on the DLS Mavs post-game show. Coming up here next, Marc Stein live from the American Airlines Center. He'll give us his thoughts on tonight's loss between the Mavericks as they fall to the Mavericks due to the pace. I don't know, man. It's late. Damn it. It's late. We'll go to break. We'll talk about something next.
It's great news, Kevin. The clock just struck midnight.
Oh my gosh, it did
moments ago. But I went to the link in the description below and clicked on it, and it still worked. It still took me to whatever the URL is, alldls.com/intro-offer-YouTube, where you can take advantage of an apparently overtime limited offer. I don't know when it stops.
It's so late. Oh my gosh.
I was told that this offer expired on Monday night, but it is Tuesday morning and it's still active. So take advantage of it now. It's $4 a month to become a diehard. Whenever you become a diehard, you get a free shirt. Again, it's $4 a month. You also get to read all of the stuff on our website behind the paywall, including analysis columns, features, opinions, and news from writers covering the 4 major pro sports teams in town, and more coming on the way whenever FC Dallas and the Dallas Wings get going in the spring. You can also join.
Hopefully with Paige Becker's on the team.
When is the lottery is it's not for a little bit though, right?
It's not for a little
They
while.
have like a 50-50 chance of winning almost, right?
They do, yeah.
Come on.
Let's get paid,
Let something
damn it.
good
Let's get
happen
paid.
with basketball.
Woo!
But and you can also join the diehard only Discord, where earlier today I was leaving a food review of Black Tap's loaded fries, and my God, they were so good.
Those are so good.
Oh my God, dude.
Oh
my God, they were so good.
Like, I'm sorry, they are so good.
They were really
They're
good.
excellent.
Like and I'm not a loaded fries guy, but it spoke to me, and I got them, and they were amazing.
Their Wagyu burger is really good too.
Oh yeah, it is.
Yeah.
So that's what I had. I had that for dinner this weekend. It was amazing. It was so good. Anyway, you should become a diehard. You also get a discount on merch, discount on events.
Merch.
You become like 35% more interesting and 50% more attractive. Look at us. We're so hot. Couple smoke shows up here. We're diehards too. You get a physical diehard card in the mail. There's so many reasons.
It really is.
There's so many reasons to do it. So just do it, because the link is going to expire soon. It's in the description below. And I do want to shout out people that have signed up since the start of the Mavs game. Shout out to Zach, to Paul, Alex, Victor, and Katie. Shout out to y'all. You're true legends.
AllDLS.com/diehard. Become a diehard member today. Hopefully you will do it, because we didn't do a good job. No, actually, Bob did an excellent job.
Oh, thank you.
Telling you why you should become a diehard member here at DLS Sports. As we finish up here on the DLL. Whoa! Look, he went Fonzie for real tonight with the jacket. Good gracious. As we welcome in our national NBA insider, Marc Stein, dapper Marc Stein at the AAC. The Mavericks weren't that dapper tonight, as they gave up a $134 to the Indiana Pacers in what was a 7-point loss. Mark, what's going on? How we feeling?
I mean, I'm wearing a blazer with a hoodie in it, so I don't remember Fonzie wearing one of those.
Okay, well, the t-shirt. Well, hold on now. It looks like a blazer with a t-shirt. I didn't know it was a hoodie. Now that you probably
it looks like a blazer with a hoodie attached. That's awesome.
No, to put the hoodie. There you go. Yeah, you was doing good till you put the hoodie on. Now you look good. You look great.
Yeah.
Hey, Mark.
That's all he's got. That's all you got?
Mark, how good does it make Rick Carlisle feel to come in and beat the Mavs? Like,
Yeah,
why is
he
that guy like torturing me so much?
He was not sad as he exited the arena. I mean, let's face it, the Pacers have been in Dallas. They're staying tonight, by the way. They had 2 off days here. Rick Carlisle got to stay at home, practice at SMU on Sunday. Like I said, they're staying tonight because this game is ending so late. Even though they're going home in the morning, it made more sense to the Pacers to, you know what, let's spend the night in Dallas and fly home at a civil hour. Myles Turner, yet again, got the game ball after the game in the Pacers locker room for torching the Mavs yet again. And yeah, this version of Rick Carlisle is Paul Westhead. The Pacers see the Mavs and throw 130 on the board again.
Well, what's going on, man?
76 points in the paint. 28 of those in the fourth quarter. That's a lot, gentlemen. It's a lot.
It was a damn layup line in the fourth quarter.
76, Mark. I want to hear your reaction to this stat. So in all the Mavs basketball you've seen in your time living in this great state, the Mavs, since at least 1996-97, have allowed more than 76 points in the paint. Only one time came in 2019 against the Bucks. So this was a historic, sad night, a historically sad affair.
Yeah, I mean, the Pacers... Look, you don't want to play Indiana on the second half of a back-to-back, and I think we knew that going in. But you also have to look at it and say, unless I'm doing the math wrong and unless my memory has completely failed me, which wouldn't be a first, but I don't think any Mav played more than 30 minutes last night besides Luka. I mean, you couldn't have had a more comfortable front end of the back-to-back in this situation that you don't want to be in. And what happens? Down 15-2 right out of the gate. And, you know, they tried mightily to get back in it, had a bazillion chances to actually seize. It turned out being a pretty wild game, and you wouldn't have thought that when it was 15-2. But, I mean, Indiana just had it going from so many different sources. And, yeah, this was... let's just say I think the Mavs missed Dereck Lively tonight.
I hated it.
7 guys in double figures, as we mentioned. Myles Turner with 30 points, going 10 of 17 from the field, 5 of 8 from downtown, had 11 rebounds as well. Pascal Siakam, 23 points on 10 of 16. Tyrese Halliburton, 10 of 16.
I can relay this to you that Myles Turner had 2 great games against the Mavs last year, and Indiana, I'm sure Bobby remembers this like yesterday, beat the Mavs, again, scoring in the 130s like twice in a very short span, 8-9 days. And Myles Turner was a huge problem in those games. Going into this one, Rick Carlisle challenged him and said, just get 10 rebounds. Make that your goal tonight. And, of course, Myles Turner got there. And, you know, it's a homecoming game for Carlisle, but it really is a homecoming game for Turner. And he was I mean, God, that dunk he threw down over Luka. I mean, that was an early signal that he was going to be a problem tonight.
Yeah.
Yeah, they made it a lot easier for him by just not guarding him at all.
Yeah,
I thought that was a really bold choice.
Jeez, that is a good choice.
The thing is, you got to crowd him. If you crowd Turner, I don't think he loves that. But, I mean, the defensive application just wasn't there. I mean, the Mavs went super small in the fourth quarter, and, you know, it looked like they might steal this one, but I mean, Indiana just so many shot makers, so much speed. Again, I mean, I've joked with Carlisle, like, man, what's gotten into you at this point? Like, you're like, they're freewheeling. They're the very pacey Indiana Pacers.
Yeah, definitely outpaced were the Mavericks tonight. We heard from Tim Cato a little bit earlier on in the show. Jason Kidd saying that Dereck Lively is going to get an MRI on that shoulder. What more can you tell us, if anything else, in terms of Dereck Lively and that injury?
It's a very mysterious thing. I thought this had to have stemmed from some fall. You know, Lively did hit the deck a couple times in the Orlando game, but all the indications here tonight was that this happened in warmups. They don't really have a great feel for how it happened, except that he went to, in his pregame warm-up, he started going to jump hooks and was having issues with the shoulder. So, yeah, I just dropped the stat sheet here, sorry.
Uh-oh.
Oh no.
I'm back. I dropped my stat sheet. He's gonna need the MRI tomorrow, but you know, they didn't know a whole lot leaving work tonight. And I mean, it was like a very late in the game word that he was going to be scratched. So on top of the challenges that Indiana already presents that the Mavericks are very familiar with, because let's not forget, it was early in the era of these new Mavs, but both of those games were after the trades. So again, the Mavs went on that great second half run after those two Indiana games, but they saw the Pacers with both Gafford and Lively, and so losing Lively right before tip off was not exactly a jolt of good news.
Speaking of jolts, Naji Marshall was excellent tonight for the Dallas Mavericks. His best game, going 8 of 9 from the field, really gave them a spark. What did you think of Naji's performance? And it's the second game in a row. The stats not necessarily, bountiful in last night's game, but the impact was spectacular against the Magic. This got time tonight. Offensively, he was great for the Mavericks coming off the bench there.
Yeah, he looks infinitely more comfortable than he did just a week ago. And I thought it was interesting in the fourth quarter, we saw the Mavs, you remember in Jason Kidd's first season when they went to the Western Conference Finals, they loved having 3 ball handlers and having that ability to sometimes go to 3, to have Luka, Brunson, and Dinwiddie out there. I mean, for a long stretch of the fourth quarter, they had Naji Marshall and Spencer Dinwiddie out there with Luka and Kyrie. I thought that was an interesting approach and an interesting look as they went ultra small. But Naji, they need it. They need Naji Marshall to feel comfortable like that and aggressive on the offensive end, because then you're going to have him out there. And as we've talked about so many times, this is not a roster filled with players who have a defensive reputation, and we know he can guard. So when he's playing so well offensively, you don't want to take him off the floor, and that's ultimately a good thing. But you're not going to survive back-to-back terrible start and just the damage that Indiana did inside. And it's the pregame conversation with the Pacers was, think about it. They've lost James Wiseman and Isaiah Jackson to season-ending Achilles tears, and that was like in a span of just over a week. So on one hand, the Pacers have this front court crisis of their own, not unlike Orlando and all the bigs that they were down in Sunday night's game, but the Pacers still had Siakam and Myles Turner, who were both excellent. And, that was more size and impactful big men than Dallas wanted to see tonight.
Mark, what are we going to do about this, man? It feels like every game we talk about, they were down 12-4. They were down 15-7. Like, how long is this going to go on before something changes?
Against Orlando, good start. It's over.
Yeah.
The problem was not solved. And it's 6 out of 7 games it's happened.
Yeah.
That's more troubling than the record.
Very much so. How much do y'all know about the state of Indiana?
Not a lot.
Like, rate your knowledge of Indiana on a scale of 1 to 10.
I'd probably go 3.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I'll go about 3 or 4.
All right. Well, can either of you tell me the number 1 most populous city in the state of Indiana? Obviously is Indianapolis. We all know that. But can either of y'all tell me the number 2 most populous city in the state of Indiana?
Is it Hickory?
That is, I can't lie, that's not a good guess. I don't think that's a real place.
That was
I'm gonna go with Gary.
Oh, Hoosiers. I was reaching. I don't know, man.
I'm gonna go with Gary, Indiana.
Okay. Better guess than Hickory, but not good enough.
I can't even fashion a guess.
I'll give you a hint.
Lafayette.
There is pro basketball played in that city as well.
Fort Wayne.
That's right.
Fort Wayne. That's right.
That's right.
That's where the Pistons used to play at.
Yeah, a population of 269,994. Indiana, I'm not impressed. Get big. Weight room. At least we beat them there.
Oh my gosh, that's what you came up with.
They are now called the Indiana Mad Ants, by the way, for some if
really,
you want
they changed?
If you want G League trivia, that I can help you with.
That's actually really disappointing that they changed. Fort Wayne Mad Ants is such a lovely...
it was. Yeah, and the only reason I know that is because I was writing the other day about Jahlil Okafor, who is on the Fort Wayne turned Indiana Mad Ants.
Oh,
and
wow.
In writing that, I realized that they've now updated their name.
That's a disgrace. That's one more reason to hate the state of Indiana.
I'm asking this question.
I don't know. I'm running out of stuff to talk about.
Yeah, it's time to go. It's time to go. It was an extremely busy night in the association. All 30 teams in action tonight across the entire league. Obviously, all 30 teams will be off tomorrow, or actually, I should say today.
That's right.
Because it is
go vote.
Election Day.
Go vote if you haven't already.
You good?
I'm encouraging everyone to. I wasn't yelling at Stein.
I
was saying everybody in chat. Everyone listening to this. Go vote.
You're fine.
Go
I was
vote.
about to sign Mark off for us.
I leave, I need to just give me the chat vibe because I'm not skilled enough to see the chat when I'm connecting like this. What's been the chat vibe tonight?
We worked through it together.
Yeah, we got through it together. They're ready to go to bed like us.
I think it's mostly
Pretty
like
much.
I think the feeling that I'm getting from the internet and from chat tonight is like everyone's kind of unsure. Like, man, these issues that we thought would get better after 2 or 3 games still haven't gotten better yet. It's now 7 games. Were my hopes too high? Does this need to change? Like, it's kind of like this.
Is Luka washed?
We're not existential yet, but it's like kind of existential, and it's still early. But
1/12
it gets.
Come on.
You what?
1/12 of the season is gone. Is that right?
Yeah, that is right. And 1/10 of it'll be gone after the next game, and it gets late early, and so it's too we're almost 10 games in. It's too late in the season to be falling behind 10 points out of the gate every game. Like, it just is. So there's legitimate trends that are a little worrying, but for the most part, it's still pretty early.
That's the Mavs' next opponent. Does that make you feel better?
Who's that?
Chicago lost to Utah tonight. I believe that's the Mavericks.
Easy dub. Mavs by 50.
That's if the defense decides to show up, because who knows at this rate.
Yeah, we'll see.
You can always dial up the Stein line at the Stein line for our national NBA insider, Marc Stein. Mark, thank you so much for the insight. Appreciate the Fonzie impression with the jacket and the shirt. And we'll talk to you on whenever they play next Wednesday. Bye, Mark.
Drive safe, Mark.
Tanner cut him off. You never know when the
KG, you played him off the stage before he got to say bye.
I played it. I mean, real Grammy music, like get your speech over with. Time to go home. In fact, you know what? It's time for us to go home.
I thought we were going to go for another few segments.
Hell no. It's time to go.
I got all sorts of Indiana trivia lined up.
We are off tomorrow. Actually, today, because it is today. We are off later today. We'll be back on Wednesday when the Mavericks get back on the floor to take on the Chicago Bulls. See that? What's is it CHGO?
Oh, okay.
Where'd you think I was
thought you were
going
to ask me some Illinois trivia, and I was not prepared for that.
Oh, you got Illinois?
Yeah,
You got Indiana trivia? But you got the Illinois trivia?
I took one game at a time.
Be better, Bobby.
One game at a time.
Be better, damn it. Like the Mavs defense, be better. All right. Thank y'all so much for watching us here on the DLS Mavs postgame show. Appreciate our guy, Marc Stein, and Tim Cato joining us live from the American Airlines Center. And also to you, our DLS Mavs Nation. Y'all the real MVPs for staying up on this night where the Mavericks had to play a game at 8:45, and y'all still up with us here. We really appreciate y'all. Love y'all. Love y'all. We'll be off on Tuesday, but we'll be back on Wednesday for the DLS Mavs pregame show for the Mavericks take on the Chicago Bulls. For Bobby Carella, my guy Tanner, I'm Kevin, we're DLS Mavs. We'll talk to y'all later. Peace.
We all silly like the mayor.